Yo, what the fuck is up, guys? It's your boy Goose here, back at it again with another YouTube video, with another Path to PR video. And today we're going to be talking about consistency. You know, it's something that you hear all the time, but you really undermine its importance. And it's something that I've recently been going through and trying to like relook at and how I can become more consistent of a player and of a person myself. And the very first part of that is learning what you can't control. Because I think that's also really important to get down. Because there's going to be days where you just like, you're playing like shit, you just don't know what's going on. And it's just getting you upset and you're not really being yourself. You know what I mean? So I made a little list of things that I found that you actually cannot control unless you're like a specific person. For example, like you don't control your bracket. You're not going to control if you get into your bracket demon again for the 30th time, 5 times in a row. It's happened to me. I played the same dude 5 tournaments in a row, same exact dude. And it was just like, all right, bro, whatever. Like our scene is not the biggest, but it's also not like that small. You know, I went however many months without running into somebody else. I went half a year without running into another person, which I think is insane when I'm playing the same guy 5 months in a row. But hey, you know, you can't really beggars can't be choosers. You know, you're there to improve. I'm just saying you don't really control your bracket. That's out of your control. So you just gotta do your best to go with that and prepare yourself for that. And the thing I noticed from other players specifically is that I'll see them get really upset and complain about the people they get in their brackets. When in reality, you should be trying to see why it is that you do complain about these guys, why you're losing to them over and over again. Because if you're losing to somebody more than 10 times, unless they are specifically just the fucking GOAT, you should be able to beat them at almost any level, unless they are the fucking GOAT. Like you're going up against MKLeo. You know, you gotta do the work, you gotta put in the training, you gotta be like, hey, you know, why am I losing? Why do I keep on doing the same thing over and over again and expect different results? You know, that's the definition of insanity, is it not? Like, come on, dude. Another thing that kind of relates to the bracket path is your opponent. You don't control your opponent or how they are practicing, what they are doing, and how they are playing that day. So it's best to just not really think about, say your opponent is doggy ass, but they're having a crazy good day. You know, you don't control that. Your opponent's just having a crazy day. Like, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? It's just you can't control it. So try not to overthink it. Just brush it off and be like, okay, why did I lose that? How can I get better? Why is this person's random peak beating my average? You know what I mean? Anyways, moving on to things that are like a little more external and not Smash related. One thing I'm gonna say is like the weather. The weather plays a huge role, and unless you're in like SoCal or some shit, and you have consistently great weather, you're not gonna be able to just have consistent temperature in your brackets, depending on the venue. You know, but for example, there'll be really cold fucking brackets, and my hands will be freezing the entire time, and I'll have them in my pockets or whatever. So I'd recommend you bring like hand warmers or some shit for that. But you can't really overthink that. But granted, that also means your opponents are also cold. There's something there. Yeah. Anyway, it could also be like just your personal life. You know, that's something that's out of control. You could have been going through some shit that just makes it so you're playing a little worse. You can have like a rough day. Your parents are making you mad because I know most of you still live with your parents, even though you're 30. What? Okay, I can't blame you in this economy. This economy, I understand. I understand. Whatever. Anyway, my bad, y'all. But shit like that, you know, you can't really control some shit that happens in your personal life, and you're not gonna have the best mood the entire time. But you can try your best to mitigate that and just clear out your mind when you get into a bracket or when you enter the venue. Just be like, hey, nothing outside of this shit matters. Just come in and fucking play the game. You know, even if you're just there for fun, just go in there with the mindset that you're gonna be there and you're gonna be playing some Smash. That's it. And that's mostly the things, like the main big ones I can think of that are outside of your control. So let's get into the things that you can control. All right. And starting off, we're going to get into sleep. I think sleep is one of the most important things. And I believe most people say it was the most important thing. Back when I was doing my Valorant shit or whatever, sleeping was a key point in my day to day life. I would be asleep by like 10 p.m. at night or whatever. I'd be awake because I had to go to work, and you know you got to sleep for work. So I'd make sure that I have enough rest, so that way when I'm done with work, I would come back and I'd feel fine and wouldn't have to take a nap or some shit in order to get good for my scrims or get ready for like a tournament that we had or some shit. And here's a little tip for sleeping. If you actually didn't get enough sleep the night before, I do recommend you take a 25 to 35 minute nap in that little range. It'll make you feel a little more rested than a 1 hour or 2 hour nap. Because for me personally, I notice that whenever I take a nap longer than an hour, I wake up and I feel that tiredness, that groggy ass bullshit, and it honestly really annoys me for the day. So I do recommend taking a shorter 25, 35-minute nap because you do get the same benefits of like you went to sleep for a little bit and your body feels a little bit more rested. And I learned it in school or some shit, and I've been using it ever since I was like 16 or something. And it has helped me. Another key thing in your control is your physical health. I'm talking your exercise, your running, your at least going outside on a walk. For like the longest time, when I was like 6 months ago, I was not able to exercise as much. My job required me to like walk around for like 6 to 8 hours a day, and my new job right now is really physically demanding, so I'm getting my exercise that way. But I need to start implementing something like running or yeah, just running again. Honestly, I really want to go back into that because I noticed myself feeling a lot better and playing a lot better when I was like practicing for the marathon that they had here, or just stuff like that. So I cannot stress how much physical health does weigh in on your ability to play the game at your highest level, and it just makes you like think more, like you can breathe better. It does take away from practice, which is a little bit on the downside, but I'd say the benefits overall are just undeniable. Like it's really important. And this is probably the easiest one to guess, and the easiest one to implement is your practice and or routine. Like if you play for an hour a day, 2 hours a day, it just you got to be consistent with that, doing it on the daily. Don't make it like a grind or a regiment unless you are like a top player or some shit. Especially if you're just like trying to learn the game and you're trying to have fun with it still. I do recommend just playing the game when you want to play the game. You get better practice that way, so that way you don't feel like it's a fucking slog. When I was playing Valorant, I know I said it already, whatever. I would do aim labs for around 10 to 15 minutes a day, every single day when I go home from work, and that was like a big part of my practice. But then we would do a warm up, then we do a scrim, and then I do a couple comp matches, and that would be my routine. And that's how I essentially got myself better to the point where I was able to be consistent in my results and what I was doing. So implementing that into Smash would be like playing Elite or doing quick play against, or not quick play, level 7 bots, level 8 bots, because they are better to practice against. But it's shit like that. Have a routine, have some practice, and be consistent with it. Even if it's like 5 days a week, 3, 4 days a week, as long as it's consistent, it'll stick. You got to make it stick. Moving on, this is actually the reason that I decided to make this video, or at least the idea came up with it, was your equipment. And for Smash, it's mainly just your control. Recently, I switched from GameCube to Pro Controller, and I tried making the switch again in the past, but I just couldn't like stay with it. I just felt like the GameCube controller was better for me, and I liked it a little more. But as of late, I've been having issues with the GameCube where I'll play on different setups and I'll have different sets of input delay, even if I'm using my own adapter and I'm just like bringing it along with me. I'll figure that some setups just have different kinds of input delay. For example, I'll use like a Switch 2 or a Switch 1, and I'll like swap the mode on my adapter, but it won't like feel right. Like I'll be missing like true combos and it'll just feel slow and sluggish. So I just decided to overtake that, overpass that fucking issue and just go to Pro Controller because that's like something you don't have to deal with there. And it is still just like opinion based. I don't think Pro Controller feels better than the GCC, especially for Smash, but overall, I do think it's going to be more consistent and in the long run better for me as a player to get the results that I do want. Because I hate the idea of losing because I wasn't able to hit a combo, or my true combo turned untrue because my input delay was like -2 or some shit. So it's just better for me. But it's going to be a personal preference thing. I do recommend getting an official adapter if you are going to stick with a GCC. But even then, I just noticed it's way too inconsistent when I go from console to console, switching it around. It's just better. That's what I'm saying. And for the sake of time for this YouTube video, I'm just going to name the rest of these off. Food, your diet is extremely important. The things you eat will actually make your body feel like shit if you're eating like gas station food all day versus if you're eating like a salad. It's really important to keep up with that. Your attitude, I know I said it earlier, your personal life can make your attitude feel a little worse, but your attitude going towards the game, that you're just in there to have fun, is extremely important and will help you play a lot more at your consistent level. And then another one, this is the probably huge one actually that's overlooked a lot, is recording your progress. the more you record your progress, you actually see your growth. So you're not just looking back and being like, dude, I'm so dog shit. I've never won anything. I'm just so bad, yada yada. But then if you look at yourself like a year ago, you'll see that you were playing way worse than you are now. Anyways, for this specific VOD, I did the VOD review on my own. I don't really like to do the ones where I win. I usually just post the ones that I lose. So that's why I'm using this as like a background video for this kind of video that I want to do. But if you guys do have any notes, please send them to me. I know some of you really like sending me notes, and I really appreciate it. Anyways, thank you guys all for watching. I'll see you later. Peace, 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 peace.